Hi everyone, we're here at Marina San Carlos. We came over here because we have a few days of credit to use up before the 3rd of July. We're going to do a few chores and we're still waiting around for our friends. Marina San Carlos is an upscale Mexican vacation spot, especially in summer, and during the winter its gringo population swells with snowbirds from Canada and the United States. At this time of the year, the weekend is extremely busy from dawn to early evening with fishing charters and party boats. To escape the sweltering boat cabin in the afternoon, I sit in the shaded cockpit and find it entertaining to watch the parade of boats. The heat can become sweltering as the marina is well protected. For a treat, we sometimes go to dinner in one of the air-conditioned restaurants that surround the marina. Lee began work on replacing 2 of the overhead liner panels that got mangled when we installed the granny posts last year. Using a multi-tool with a flush-cutting blade, he carefully cut along the liner edge. On the side closest to the ports, he was careful not to nick the wire run. After cleaning the underside of the fiberglass, he used epoxy thickened with the West System filler recommended for adhesion and glued furring strips to support the headliner. Using the old liner as a rough template, he cut pieces from 3mm hardwood plywood, and I did the honors painting the wood. A portion of the headliner had been removed by a previous owner, and Lee reused the teak framing to hold the panel in place. On the larger panel, we made it into 2 panels, and will add teak trim to match the other panels later. For now, the 2 panels are held in place by fit and the trim ring from the dorade duct. During our stay in the marina, I made a quick trip north on the bus to spend the weekend with my sisters and dad, since we will be in the northern Baja during August when my dad has his 95th birthday. In comparison to the local Guaymas buses, which can be rickety, and it isn't at all unusual for the driver to pull to the side to add oil or coolant, the Tufesa buses are clean, modern, and very comfortable. Stops are at good intervals to stretch and grab a quick bite to eat. In just 15 hours, I arrived in Colton, in Southern California, about the same amount of time it takes us to drive that distance, only I was much more rested. Meanwhile, back at the boat, Lee and his dad tried unsuccessfully to connect via ham radio. By the time I returned to the boat, we got word our friends Tony and Diane on Dulce would be arriving in the Guaymas area. We left San Carlos and headed south to Guaymas on what was predicted to be a light northerly breeze. While Lee napped below, fighting a miserable cold, I rolled out the headsail and, going nowhere fast, tacked back and forth in a southerly whisper while running the water maker. Both Blondie and I enjoyed the antics of a hungry sea lion intent on robbing a fish off the hook, only I wasn't fishing. The sea lion persisted, keeping pace and establishing a pattern of checking under the boat. He finally gave up when I gave up, rolled in the headsail, and started the engine. Lee didn't want to share his cold, so we bypassed Dulce, anchored at Bahia Catalina, and dropped the hook at Isla Pajaros, just outside Guaymas Harbor. Isla Perros, which means Bird Island, can be a little smelly because of the scores of pelicans that call the island home. However, in a southerly, Pajaros affords great protection, and when the wind is from that direction, you don't smell the pelicans. Upon our arrival, we were greeted by a pod of hunting dolphins and were enchanted to see a little one swim side by side with its mother. Along with the marine and avian wildlife to see, there was plenty of shipping traffic to observe transiting the channel into the port of Guaymas. We found Pajaros a good hangout for Lee to recover from his cold, and we hunkered down for 2 days of strong southerlies. As a side note, after rounding Cabo Aro and in the approach channel, the wind can alter direction, and I find looking at the smoke from the power plant is a good indicator of wind conditions in the harbor, which can be quite different. While we were anchored, Lee tinkered around with our compass lighting. Our boat did not come with a compass, and this one we bought at a swap meet. Unfortunately, it came with a bright white light which had a significant current draw. Lee purchased some red LEDs and experimented using just one LED and powering it with his red fuel cell. The single LED wasn't quite sufficient. The following day, he wired in 2 LEDs, and that was perfect. He permanently wired in the new compass lighting to the power cable that goes to the chart plotter. When Lee recovered from his cold, we moved to Furniture and had a great visit with our friends Tony and Diane. We celebrated a birthday with new friends, and soon Nick, Ika, and Tala on Serendipity arrived. When Diane and I went shopping, I was involved in a fender bender, and in the next episode, we run into further trouble. So until then,